It isn't perfect, but I finally got it. Let's get into this next video. Hi guys, so I'm back, and my hair is a little bit better. This is what I was trying to essentially do yesterday with the weird little puff that well, of course now I noticed, with the weird little puff, and I have a lot of things to accomplish, so I figured that I would talk with you guys and accomplish those few things that I need to do and kill two birds with one stone. Yay! So today I went and I got like a table for putting my, sorry, it's a flimsy table. I got a table for putting my camera and light on, and I got some jars. Got small jars. And larger jars, just plain little jars. And then I'm going to finish up some of the locks that I've been meaning to send to someone who asked me for samples of my work. And oh, one sec. Let me get the other part, the fun part, so that we have a conversation. Okay, and Cards Against Humanity. So I'm gonna lay these out, and I guess somehow we're gonna play this game together, even though you're not actually here. So I will. Oh. It says, a recent laboratory study shows that undergraduates have 50% less sex after being exposed to and then that's our fill in the blank, and then our 3 blanks, which I don't know yet. They're coming out face down. I don't know how to show you them face down without me seeing it, so I'm going to show you first. So here's the first answer, if you can see it. I can't see it because the card itself is blocking my view from the camera. And then here's the next one. And then here's the next one. And I'm sorry if I move them too fast to read. I can't see how much is on there. So, okay, so I'm going to flip them over now. It says, a recent laboratory study shows that undergraduates have 50% less sex after being exposed to my inner demons. And then a recent laboratory study shows that undergraduates have 50% less sex after being exposed to a super soaker full of cat pee. And then the last one says, a recent laboratory study shows that undergraduates have 50% less sex after being exposed to Aaron Burr. I have no idea who that individual is, so yeah. But I think the funniest combination is certainly these two. A recent laboratory study shows that undergraduates have 50% less sex after being exposed to my inner demons. Message. But I guess that can be our topic while we're jarring fun things. And so because I am autistic, before autism was just considered ASD, or the autism spectrum, I found out that I have Asperger's, and I was a late diagnosis because well, like most Black and brown people, I wasn't afforded the luxury of being able to, this is pretty. I wasn't afforded the luxury to be able to go and have health care to have a psychiatric evaluation. They are expensive, and it costs to know what's wrong, and it costs to know how to treat it. So, not that it can be cured, that's not what I mean. I'm saying that in terms of the classism that is surrounding the American healthcare system, there aren't a lot of options for a lot of people without a lot of money. So, sorry, I'm reading my note to make sure I didn't leave anything out. Okay, so I am kind of just now understanding a lot of what was wrong. A lot of why my social interactions didn't go beyond schoolhood, aside from the fact that I wasn't allowed to have friends over, I wasn't allowed to go to friends' houses, phone use was minimal. I didn't actually have a cell phone until high school, which is that's heard of, but you're also allowed to at least have friends over, I thought, or go to friends' houses and actually build some type of social relationship with people. And I just wasn't. I didn't have that. And I wasn't bothered until I realized that it was a thing for other people. I didn't really feel like I had missed out on something until I realized that I wasn't grasping the concept of sexuality in the form of attraction. I wasn't, I wasn't going after anybody, actually. My first boyfriend was at 16, and I was married to him at 16, but I didn't actually go and live with him or like consummate the marriage until 2 years later when I graduated high school, because why? We were both virgins, and I had school to do. I got time for that. I had a way that I wanted to go towards my future, and well, now I look back and I realize that it was just asexuality, but I wasn't interested, and I found that having a long distance boyfriend and husband kept them far away from me, kept me far away from their penis, and it worked out well for me and him because both of us were virgins and we were just so in love with each other, and it was puppy love that lasted like 6 years. But I think it's really important that as we talk about sexuality and inner demons, quote unquote, that autistic people have a chance to have sex education that is nuanced. And what I mean is, logically, we can completely grasp the concept of STDs, pregnancy, things like that. But there are nuances like flirting, avoiding red flags in narcissism, things that can blossom into abuse that we don't pick up on the signs of because we don't have that social toolbox. Some people do. Some people have that social toolbox and they choose not to use it. And that's the difference between people with autism and awkward people. Awkward people have those tools and misuse them. People with autism or Asperger's don't have the tools at all. And through the process of masking and the little bit of social interactions that we do get, we fashion these makeshift tools to survive socially. And it's exhausting. For me, I have realized that I have no actual idea who I am as an individual. It consistently and constantly changes via my environment, via the people that I'm around, my special interests, and they are influenced that way because it's a way to stay afloat socially. Excuse me. If you are finally able to make a friend, you want to learn as much as you can about this person. You want to show as much interest as you can in this person. You want to essentially know everything about that person, at least for me. And knowing now what I was doing then, I've realized that all of my relationships, I've only had 3, but all of my relationships have been because I took special interest in that person, and I took special interest in that person, and that in turn made me a good partner. I wanted to know your likes, your dislikes. What do you like on Tuesday mornings when you wake up? What do you not like on Friday nights when you just woke up from a too long nap? Like, things like that. Realizing that a partner is too tall to use the standard mount of a shower head and changing it out, because who always wants to take a shower where the water hits your nippies? Things like that. It's a lot to, well, it's not a lot to me because it's what I like to do. I didn't know that people were my special interest. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that autistic people tend to do that, well, at least for me. It's not a monolith. We don't all follow some special algorithm. Believe me, we've tried to find it out. And we exist, at least for people with Asperger's, at least for myself, exist in a mental climate, I guess I could call it, that is always black and white. It is very difficult to interact, sorry, it's very difficult to interact socially when everything is gray, and very little is accepted as black and white. So logically you can say that, I don't know, this card is black. Okay, but for me, this card is black with white font. It has texture in the card. It is, you know, things like that, like things that people would notice. Like the texture is shaped like flannel, like it's like a bunch of boxes and cubes and things. And those are things that I notice on like a regular basis that I'm sure nobody else is like, oh, let's look at the texture of this card and find out what kind of cloth threading is beneath the finish. No, people don't do that, unless you're like me. And I just wanted, I still do, I want to make a sex ed class that helps us find those nuances, that helps us understand to not ration the irrational. I found a lot of times that neurotypical people do a lot of irrational things, but call it rational. There are, I don't know, like, I talk to a lot of friends and mention a lot of things, and I try to understand their viewpoint, but their viewpoint it's difficult for me because it's always nuanced. There's never a black and white understanding or viewpoint that I can that I can grasp. And I struggle a lot, like, on social media because I find a topic or I see a post and I can immediately construct something in my mind that says X is Y because of Z. And then when I go through the comments, because empathy has like been a way to survive socially, when I go through the comments and I read through what other people say, in spite of other people that may read it and have sensitivities to inflammatory responses or idealisms, I pick up a lot of that, and I carry it with me, and it triggers my anxiety, and I am not quite sure how to release that a lot of the time. I'm always avoiding a conversation, and it's very maybe disheartening is the word I want, but it's very shallow, I guess I should say. It's very shallow because conversations are always this deep, because I'm very passionate about things that I finally say something about, and I haven't discovered how to I think it's loud, isn't it? I haven't discovered how to moderate that feeling, or knowing that I want you to consider me because I'm right.
Hold up.
And not because it's an opinion or anything. I mean, the statement that I'm saying is factually and scientifically backed, and that's a lot of how I navigate things. And I mean, I do get my feelings hurt with things. Like, it's not always like I can rationalize myself out of every emotion. No. Because I tend to feel a lot of things at the same time, and it's always in an extreme. Like, if I have a conversation with someone and things are going good and I'm like, this is going well, then comes the part where they disagree, and I'm not upset because they disagree. I'm upset because I can't convey a part of the conversation that interests them in the possibility of widening their scope on their opinion. Not changing it, just accepting in more essential information that can help you form a more factual and not substantial and sustaining opinion about things. I've never quite understood why people are like, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z regardless of X, Y, and Z, and then I don't know. Maybe I do. I think I just lost my train of thought and started rambling just then. Sorry. Sometimes I don't notice. Lost my train of thought, y'all. Oh, after this, we are going to look at a couple of like my faux locks that I'm working on to be able to send so that the hairstylist can see a little bit of my work, because she needs someone who can create while she's hairdressing. And that's another thing. I really, really get overwhelmed with commitments. It's really important to me to have a purpose and a focus and to be able to do things for other people that strengthen the relationship between myself and them. And I don't know if that's my Asperger's. I don't know if that's the way that I am. Because before I knew, late diagnosis, before I knew, I thought that it was just altruistic, not autistic, altruistic, which is where someone is the opposite of selfish, basically. They do things with the motive of doing things for other people and don't expect things back. But then I later found that it's really just another masking tactic, and that it's not as healthy if you aren't able to spot the boundaries, if you're not able to understand people's intentions, and a lot of the naivety that comes with thinking the world is an actually good place with all good people in it. Because for me, I think that when I meet someone, you have 100%, and that's really good. Big 100% heart. And then as you slowly do things that offend or hurt or disrespect me, then you lose points. But before then, I'm willing to do anything for you. I'm willing to give you a shirt off my back. I'm willing to buy your groceries. I'm willing to do a lot of things for a lot of people that I haven't ever met. And apparently that's odd. But I do know that logically you don't do things that you can't get back. Things that you can't get back. So that's the middle ground. I guess that's me learning nuance. Don't do things that you can't get right back. And if you do, expect it not to come back.